Hello and welcome everyone to the final interview of the Great Commandment anthology series. My name is Jack Holder. I am the editor and one of the contributors to the Great Commandment. And joining me is the last and certainly not the least of the creators. Why? He's so nice. I had him on twice for anthologies. Matt Kund is here. Am I pronouncing your last name incorrectly every time?
No, you nailed it perfectly. Yeah, it's exactly right, Kund. First time you nailed it.
Great. Excellent. This is going to be a wonderful experience for the two of us. We're going to be talking about Matt's personal work with the Reset, Dino Thrashers, and other works, including his work Tablets for the Great Commandment, and his other work, Faith in Forever, for Why Faith. We're going to be talking about what it means to be an indie writer in comics today and any tips and strategies that we can help impart to you. And we're just going to have a grand old time with it. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. Please share this video around. Let people know what is going on so they can enjoy this too. And let's just have a blast. So, first question that everyone gets is, what is the Great Commandment? What is this anthology? Who are you two guys? What is going on? So, every part of our lives, we have commands as a part of them. Whether it be religious, political, moral, or even basic needs, commands are a part of our lives. From the high and eloquent, you must love your neighbor as yourself, to we the people in order to form a more perfect union, to the more commonplace, let's make sure we actually get to the interview on time. Let's figure out every sort of chore, to the more lowbrow and certainly well-beloved commands of be excellent to each other and live long and prosper. But just as much as those commands are important, so too is our response, yes, but what does that all really mean? What does it mean to live long and prosper? What does it mean to be excellent? What does it mean to live a good, full life? Well, this is what the Great Commandment anthology is all about. Over 24 stories talking about what these commands are, how they affect our lives, how they could change society, and whether they should be what they are. You have samurai Akitas battling ninja cats, quoting Sun Tzu while they defend the honor of their household. You have Taoist hippos talking about the suffering that is life. You have the very halls of Valhalla and who is worthy there. And you have a tablet being able to have weird programs that maybe reveal too much of what the company actually knows. And with that one, we actually have the writer here. Matt Kund is the writer of Tablets. He is the writer of The Reset, Faith in Forever. He is the publisher for Dino Thrashers, which I believe was successfully funded on Kickstarter in like the last week or two.
Correct.
And is just a really stand-up guy. Matt, thank you so much for being with us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me on. My name, again, as you said, is Matt Kund. I am a comics writer. Recently took the plunge into being a publisher. I started a company called, or publishing imprint called Ageless Press with Brett Murphy, who is another writer. And as you said, we did our first book through crowdfunding called Dino Thrashers. That's sort of a mashup of 80s sort of goodness. We just wanted to have a lot of fun, and tell a really fun story that you could sort of sit down, enjoy yourself, and sort of escape from the real world for a little bit. So in addition to that, I also I do a podcast called Constucting Comics, where it started off as sort of like a breaking down pages and page design, but now it's sort of morphed into an interview show, and we'll have a lot of folks that are from the indie scene that are running Kickstarters, trying to make their way. And we've even actually been lucky enough to have a few folks that have worked for DC Comics and Marvel Comics on there. So, any level of sort of craft that you might want to try to learn or try to, get some tips and tricks from, you can listen to that podcast. And a lot of times when I have somebody on there, I joke with them that it's just as much for me as it is for them, because as they tell their stories, it's sort of me taking a little piece of something from their creative processing and adding it to sort of my theoretical creative tool belt. So that's really a lot about who I am as far as like comics and stuff like that.
Excellent. I definitely sympathize and have done that sort of thing in the last month of taking advice with everyone here. We've had New York Times bestselling authors, USA Today bestselling authors, and artists that have worked with DC, Dynamite, Boom, Marvel, who have been absolutely phenomenal and really open with talking about this stuff. That's one of the things that I really love about the comic scene, is that you don't have a lot of secrets when it comes to what it takes for success. It's not finding the right thing. It's actually being able to take all of that and apply it to the world. And everyone seems very nice in indie comics because it's such a close-knit community. And Matt, you have not one, but two pieces with me. One for Why Faith, right here. And the second is for tablets for the Great Commandment. Can you tell us a little bit about your own work there?
Yeah, so for the first book that we did together, the Why Faith book, I did a story called Faith and Forever, and I sort of wanted to build a sort of side story to a comic that I had done called Digital Forever, which sort of played with a company that could make a simulated afterlife for you. So I brought two characters together, and basically they came from two backgrounds, and one sort of had everything handed to them, and one of them sort of came from a more challenging background, and they both came together at a certain point in their life, and they both faced sort of difficult decisions, and then they were able to use their faith, or in one character's case, his lack of faith, to sort of make their decisions. So a lot of times I play with sort of sci-fi elements with my storytelling. So it was a way to sort of explore a story there. So it was a lot of fun to do. It was a 4-page story. I did it with the artist Wilson Gandolfo, who I did the Digital Forever book for. So there's sort of a consistency in art if you think about the comic that we did and that story. It's the same team. So it was a lot of fun to do. And then with tablets, again, it's another sort of sci-fi take on feelings of faith and belief and stuff like that. I have recently been watching a lot of sort of documentaries about sort of like social media and the impact it has. And I have small kids who spend a lot of times with their head buried in their tablets and doing stuff. So I wanted to play with the sort of the 10 Commandments written on stone tablets, and then today everybody's walking around and has a small sort of portable tablet in their hand that has so much sort of influence on them, and a lot of the way you could view yourself or have feelings about yourself could dictated by what you see there. So then I had that idea, but I didn't have it fully flushed out. So this was the first time I really worked with a co-writer. And I co-wrote this story with Noah Ray, who I did my podcast with. So I sort of had the idea, and he sort of helped me sort of flush out the idea. And we like to say it's like the movie They Live with Roddy Piper, but instead of sunglasses that you put on and it reveals the truth, it's a a personal electronic tablet. So our character goes in and is actually sold the wrong sort of tablet, and so how Roddy Piper got the sunglasses that allowed him to see sort of the messages in the background. Our character Joan, she gets a tablet that allows her to actually see what the companies are trying to do, and there's a lot of sort of messages that she sees and we as the reader see, and then at the end she's able to sort of use that sort of master tablet that she has that sort of gives the story to. She goes to a location where there's a lot of imagery and ads being shown, and she actually connects to those and sends a message to all the viewers there and sort of walks off. So it's a way of her sort of sharing the message that she's been able to see with this magical tablet with everybody else.
I love that you were able to delve into social media. Usually my advice for people with social media is that it's a tool, it's a business, it shouldn't be your life, and you shouldn't go into it. The harsh word is naive. Very much everything that you say or do on the internet can be found by someone else. It doesn't matter what kind of firewall, what kind of protections you put up there. If it's on the internet, it can be found, which is what we're hoping with this anthology and everything. You seem to really have a sci-fi bent. Even with Dino Thrashers, people couldn't help but notice the Han Solo vest and get up in Dinosaur. Do you find that easier to discuss bigger issues?
Yeah, I think if you think about sort of some of your and in no way am I comparing myself to these people, but if you think of sort of your greats in sci-fi, they're all sort of like tackling issues that we all sort of deal with this sort of fantastical, technology or this otherworldly scene. But when you get down to it, it's a story that we can all sort of relate to through the character. And, a lot of times I'm sort of working through sort of personal issues myself. Like the first book I did, where there's a simulated afterlife, was shortly after my father passed away. So I was sort of having these sort of thoughts about like, me trying to work through it. And I sort of wrote this story about somebody who passes away, and they have this sort of afterlife that they designed, and like, is that really what you would really want? And if you didn't know if it was true, would you really want it? So just sort of playing with themes like with that. And then I did the reset where there was basically going to be a world ending event, and there was one character that in the book that could solve the problem, and he sort of wielded all of these sort of like basically held all the power in the world. So it was a look at like, if you could save the world, would you do it? And then what happens if the wrong person was saving the world, but they were sort of corrupted by greed, and they sort of had all these powers. So there's a lot of sort of like high concept sci-fi like elements to it, but when you get down to it, what I hope that I'm doing is I'm sort of giving you characters that you can identify with, and even though they're in these like these elements that are not like our everyday life, the characters and what they're going through and what they're dealing with and what they're trying to come to grips with is stuff that you can deal with or you might be dealing with in your everyday life.
Right. That is really at the core for sci-fi and my own wheelhouse in fantasy is, can we figure out ways around what's going on in our own lives? I saw this quote a couple of weeks ago saying every dystopian novel that predicted the future wasn't trying to do that. It was just describing what was going on currently in society. Like, V for Vendetta wasn't talking about the amount of cameras going on right now or what happens in a pandemic. It was literally just the amount of cameras that were already going up in 80s Britain.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been a part of 2 anthologies now, Why Faith and The Great Commandment. One of these was a little bit more of a hectic and chaotic time.
Mm-hmm.
The other, can you describe what it was like for yourself in the midst of a pandemic, trying to create and bring this, as well as start your own company, publishing imprint?
Yeah, so I got to be honest with you. There was a time where I didn't think that our story was going to get done. You know, we did the submission process. We sent you sort of the idea, and then as a writer, I can only control so many things. And you know, I'm in communications with my artist Ertan, who lives in Turkey. So then we sort of also have sort of, you know, we're dealing with a pandemic, but we're also dealing with sort of like time zone differences. So a lot of times, like, you know, I'm messaging him during the day, which is nighttime for him. And then, you know, I get his response back the next day. So there's a little bit of delay there. And, you know, there was a certain time where I didn't think we were going to actually have a story for this. And we took it up almost right to the deadline. And I messaged you and I said, hey, you know, we're working on it. I don't think we're going to meet the deadline. And I think we were roughly about 2 weeks late from the deadline. So things didn't work as smoothly as they did for the first one. But working in a pandemic, it's been a little strange for everyone. You know, with an artist in another country, I'm constantly sort of checking on, you know, what the situation was like for him in Turkey. And then I've worked with folks in Brazil, and, you know, there's times where things were really bad in Brazil and things have been bad in the United States for a while, but it seems like there's ebbs and flows. But, you know, it was a lot of times like, hey, you know, sending people a message and like, you know, be safe. And they're like, I didn't get to work on this today because, you know, my kids were home from school, and the hours that I thought I had to work on the book, I really didn't have to have. So we all sort of worked together, and I think it was good for, at least on my side. And then we tried to do that with you, like letting you know that we were going to be late. You have to communicate, and you have to understand that, you know, circumstances are going to pop up, and somebody might have said, hey, I'm going to get you that page tomorrow, with all the intention of getting you that page tomorrow. But, you know, their kid had to stay home from school, and it's a little difficult to work on stuff. So that was one of the big issues with the story for this anthology. And as far as like starting a publishing imprint, we did Dino Thrashers as our first book, and that sort of all came together pretty quickly. Brett and I had some more ideas for more stuff to do, but we've sort of taken a step back and sort of put those on the back burner, and we're trying to wait. I think, you know, the inability to go to cons is difficult for anybody trying to do this. I'm not able to, you know, put books in people's hands or sit with folks, or see somebody's art that really gets me excited and go, you know, that might be the person for that project that we can see. I mean, you can do a lot of that online, but there's a lot to be said for doing it face to face. And you know, and it seems like a lot of sort of partnerships are made at cons, not on the con floor, but sort of like afterwards, where everybody goes back to the hotel and has dinner and relaxes. And a lot of folks are like, hey, I have this project, I think you would be great for it. So like those opportunities aren't there. So there's only so much that you can do online. So we've slowed things down, but hopefully we'll be able to do a couple more things here in the near future. I think you're muted.
Yes,
no
I
problem.
am. Wanted to make sure because I get a lot of outside noise around my office. Social media and everything else seems to be like the thing that you'll unfortunately need to master as an independent creator in today's day and age, even with the changes to American leadership and everything else. I've talked with creators who are parts of this book, and they're like, I'm not going to a con until 2022. I can't do anything, not only with a viable vaccine that other people have tested. And I got it. I mean, no disrespect to any of my fans who go to conventions. You people are the greatest, but convention goers are not exactly the most health conscious, and that is just a fact. It is just like going on an airplane. Everyone, every creator I've talked to has had caught con cred at the end of it or another. But it's finding that balance of trying to figure out how to be compassionate while at the same time running a business. That is the thing that why Faith in the Great Commandment, it was really easy because it was just me running it. It's weird saying that, but once we knew the pandemic was going full swing, I could instantly send Matt an email and all the creators going, hey, this is being pushed back a month. So we're not going to try and putz with deadlines and make you guys try and create when you literally can't think. So what sort of strategies would you be telling fledgling creators, especially right now, as they're starting their careers? Not just in creating, but creating connections as well.
Yeah, I think so. I've taken a couple of classes with Andy Schmidt on comics experience, and one thing that he always says is that if you want to make it in comics, is that you have to be nice, you have to be persistent, and you don't want to be a jerk online. So like I think that like those are like sort of the three things that I try to do. And I also, if somebody supports your project, in any way, like, there might be times where I might see somebody's project and I don't really have the cash to support it or at that time, but just sharing it or retweeting it, if that's the very least you could do, to just sort of build those connections and just try to help people out. But that's, like I said earlier, the sort of be nice, be persistent, and not to be a jerk online. I think is the way to do it. And as far as like building community, I don't think I could get 100 people to look at a Kickstarter I did if I didn't have sort of the 3 to 4 years of making connections and seeing folks who are also running Kickstarters, and when their Kickstarters come out, it's always awesome to like do your Kickstarter update and be like, I'm 60% funded, things are going really great, and while I have you here, my buddy Rob's got a werewolf book, check this out, and just just things that you can do like that, it just helps out, because we're all sort of out here just trying to get eyeballs, trying to get ears, and it's difficult at times. So I do I have a planner that I use every day, and I make sure that I share one Kickstarter and every day I use a check mark and I go, okay, I shared a Kickstarter today. So that's like one of the things I try to do each day. And that's sort of part of the being nice and being persistent and building connections online. So that would be, I guess, the best advice I could give to folks.
The being nice advice is one of those things that it seems so obvious, and yet it gets lost so often because you get lost in your own world. Mm-hmm. Matt's been doing this for a while now with weekly affirmations for me, just trying to send me something on like a Friday going, hey, I hope you have a great weekend. It's one of those things where it seems so simple and it seems effortless. There is a whole ocean of effortless kindness that is going to rocket you up in terms of social standing with people, not just in the creative community, but like everywhere. It's the weird random acts of kindness that's almost like winning friends and influencing people with Carnegie. Like, mm-hmm. Do the things that aren't hard to work yourself up towards those that are.
Yeah, I mean, the first one of the first big breaks I got as far as anthologies was Why Faith. A lot of that was I'm not exactly sure how you and I connected. I know that we run in a lot of the same circles, a lot of the same groups, and you gave me the chance to do the 4-page story in Why Faith, and from there, like the next year I got into like 2 or 3 more, and I wouldn't be completely surprised if there were some folks that let me go into other anthologies that saw that as sort of like a test case scenario for me to do one and succeed and sort of get in there and be part of the machine to sort of help try to promote. So that's it's sort of like the good acts and the being a good person and helping just hopefully sort of snowball all of these things. So it's Why Faith for me, and then it's Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, which is a huge break for me. Then I come back again for the Commandments, and just different things like that, and just being there, hopefully hitting deadlines, not being too late if you are late, but just sort of showing folks that you're there, and you want to help, and you just want to just keep making stuff and help others make stuff is just such a big thing.
It's building a resume, not just of your creative projects, but people talk in any industry, and comics is no exception. People talk. Mm-hmm. There are people now involved with things like Comicsgate, that once that gets out, a lot of doors have just slammed shut for you that aren't going to open again without some major things. But that's what one of the things I love about anthologies is you get to test out your own work. You get to test drive connections. Working in anthologies, you easily get to figure out, especially as editor, who do you really like working with? Who is going to be there for the long haul? Who's going to be good artist, not exactly a great promoter? Who's going to be, someone you don't want to work with at any time? This is the perfect time, and it is not as much risk as trying to push out even a 50-page graphic novel.
Mm-hmm. I think it's actually, there's a lot of advice to sort of try to start small. So if you were a creator and you wanted to make a comic, and you didn't necessarily want to tackle a single issue in a Kickstarter, or trying to take a pitch to a publisher for a single issue or a series, sort of the art of being able to tell a complete story in 4, 6, 5 pages, whatever it is, shows that you have that ability. And it's a lot harder sometimes to tell a complete story in 4 to 5 to 6 pages. You don't have the ability to sort of meander, or sort of you can build tension, but you can't build like pages and pages of tension for the page turn and the full page reveal, because space is of a value. So you learn a lot, and you learn a lot about telling the story and being concise. And then when you want to grow and do a single issue or do a series, those things to sort of build on. So I think it's a way to start small and build, is to do anthology stories as well.
Every single person that I've talked with for over a month, the advice has always been the same. Please start small. Please don't try and hit your magnum opus. And it doesn't, for writers, it's not even a question of personal ability. It's not a question of whether or not you're a good writer. Doing comics is an extremely collaborative effort where the writer, after a while, becomes ancillary, almost like the writer for a screenplay. It's been described as the most important and the most useless person, because it's where you get everything at the very beginning, and then after that, you've got this guy sitting around for 9 months while everyone else is doing work.
I've joked with some of my artist buddies that I can write a man jumps through a window and fights 50 zombies. That takes me 35 seconds to write, but it takes them 2.5 days to draw. So I've handed that over to them so long ago, and I'm such a part at the beginning, but I have to get that started. And you sort of work at the beginning, and then you come in and you sort of, I don't know why it seems to be this way, but a lot of times it sort of seems like the writer taking that initial role then sort of defaults to sort of like the project manager throughout the project. Like a lot of times it's your baby, you're the one that got the idea started, so you can sort of help guide it, but you start it and then you check on it, and you sort of manage the project throughout it as well as the writer a lot of times.
That's true. And I think the reason is because we're independents. For many times, unless you have percentage deals with artists, the writers are also one putting up the capital. So very much, I've seen this with artists, especially in my own work, of them looking at this going, is this okay? And you don't have an editor who's checking through everything. You are the editor, because that is another fee on top of that, and you may be getting someone to check your scripts, but you're not going to be getting someone to run everything for you. So that does add another element in the indie world.
Yeah, and one thing that's without having an editor, one thing that's dangerous for indies and writers is that you've lived with this idea in your head for so long. You sometimes, when that script or when that project comes through, you've lived with it so long that you kind of know what it should say, and that's how you read it. So I think it's important to have somebody look at it. Like a lot of times I drag my wife kicking and screaming to read my comic, and she really doesn't want to do it. But if she, as somebody who's not a comics reader, can read it and go, this doesn't make any sense, that's really helpful to me to say, okay, I know what I'm trying to do here. I know what this says because I've lived with this in my head for 6 to 8 months. But this person who hasn't picks up the book and goes, right here, I don't know why this person is doing this, or I don't know why this person is saying it, is beneficial. So like, while you might not be able to get an editor, if you have a friend or a family member that you can sort of drag kicking and screaming to read that comic and tell you this doesn't make sense, that's beneficial. So, and maybe you have to be nice and take them out to dinner or give them a gift or something for putting up with reading your comic, but it's also very helpful.
It is super helpful. All right. So we have reached what I like to call the QVC portion of these interviews, because we are in fact bringing this book to life, and it is funded. We hit our pledge goal of $5,000 on Friday. We have actually been cruising the last few days. 126 backers have reached $5,561, and so we're trying to get into 6K and beyond. And if you like Matt's work in both The Great Commandment and Why Faith, I am sorry I don't have copies of Great Commandment yet. That is what we are doing. But you can totally get those. You can get deluxe works with added artwork and content. You can get both books. You can get personalized sonnets and canvas prints from some of our writers and artists. It is a wonderful opportunity, and we have less than 63 hours to go. Is there anything you want to add on top of this?
Well, just really, I just want to thank you again for being part of it. I know you mentioned the affirmations that I send you, and sometimes I try my best to beat you at getting you the affirmations. But there's a lot of times I get up and I have my cup of coffee, and on Monday morning there's already the affirmation for you from you. So I appreciate those as well. As we said. It's the people on, the world online can be sort of a harsh place. And sometimes indie comics, for some strange reason, can be sort of a harsh place at times. And just for you to just be sort of like a positive voice and sort of helping folks, I really appreciate it. But, I'm excited to be a part of this book. There's a lot of great creators, and to be part of it is just a lot of fun. And we got a little bit over 2 days, so everybody check it out, and let's see if we can push to that 6K and beyond mark.
Please. For last tip with kindness, it's random messages. Pick a day during the week to send them. Don't send it during the weekend. Everyone's already feeling a bit more relaxed, a bit more chill. Even indie creators. Send it on like a Wednesday when everyone's dealing with hump day issues. I send it on Monday morning because a lot of people are just starting their day. It's like I do it at like 9 in the morning. On the East Coast, which means a lot of my friends out in California are getting it just as they get their cup of coffee and get up. So that's something they can look forward to. But once again, just like Matt was saying, it's you can do it eloquent, you can have fun with it, but anyone who's creating has found the I hate my work and everything that is a part of it, and I am just a terrible person. And then you see something from someone else saying, I think you're an amazing creator, and I'm so glad that you're in my life. And you're suddenly like, I can do this.
Yeah, I agree. And, sometimes you sort of have those periods of time where, everything's working out for you, and the acceptance letters are coming in, and then you might have that couple of months where everything's a rejection and things aren't going well. So it's just really great to sort of not constantly, but sort of keep sending those messages, because you never know, like, you that message could have come after the day after a rejection letter. So it's always a good thing to do, because you as a indie and as a writer, you're supposed to wear those rejection letters as a badge of honor, but they still don't sting any less each time you get them. So it's always nice to sort of let folks know that you appreciate them, and you like the things that they're making, because it's difficult to sort of put yourself out there and try to make things and show things to people. So I appreciate those, and they're just great pick-me-ups, and you never, like I said earlier, you never know what the person's going through. So I appreciate those.
Thank you for that, Matt. Is there anything else that you want to add for people before we call it an evening?
No, I guess maybe I'll go back to that 3 main philosophies of being persistent, being nice, and not being a jerk online is the sort of the golden rules that I've taken from Andy Schmidt and Comics Experience of trying to make jobs, because are create opportunities and possibly get jobs. So I would just sort of follow up with that.
Excellent. The commands that Matt has taken for his own life. So that does it for us tonight. It has been an honor to be with Matt. Matt is the 30th creator I've had on for these interviews, which tells you just how many people were involved in the Great Commandment. I think we got to just over half of them, which means we still had so many people where schedules unfortunately didn't allow. We will be doing one more wrap-up broadcast at 8 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, where we'll be having wonderful conversations with everyone who can show up. We'll just be talking about our own creations, talking about the Great Commandment, and what comes next. Thank you all so much for being here. Matt, would you like the final word?
Jack, I want to thank you for your hard work and understanding this book couldn't be made without you getting the ball running, and then sort of working with all the teams. So you've been thanking a lot of people through this, but I want to thank you, because you're sort of the glue that holds everything. You got the ball started, then you were the glue that held us all together. So thanks for helping us make this cool book.
Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you to everyone for watching this. Back the Great Commandment, get Why Faith, get all of Matt's books. Go out when he releases Dino Thrashers on his online store, so you can get a hold of that as well. And have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care, many blessings, and thank you so much, everyone.